Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Arbonne for Men Monthly Business Overview. My name's Aaron Sanders, and I'm an independent consultant and a district manager for Arbonne International. I'm just going to introduce myself a little bit, and then I'm going to introduce our speaker tonight, Brett Parks. I'm so happy to have him here. I came to Arbonne after 17 years in academia as a tenured English professor where I was underworked and overpaid. Actually, I was overworked and underpaid. If the other were true, I wouldn't be here. So, I'm going to start over again. But all I ever wanted to do since I stepped into a college classroom was to be a professor. And after a PhD, 2 master's degrees, an award-winning novel, I found myself in the awkward position of having to take a second job in order to afford to be a professor. And after I have 2 sons, and after they moved across the country, I just decided I needed to make a change. And so I quit my tenured professor job and moved to California to focus on writing. When I moved to LA, I decided the best way to figure out where I wanted to live was to take Airbnb rooms in different parts of the city. And my second room happened to be with an Arbonne RVP named Linda Balaban. And as a welcome gift, she left a deluxe Try-Me set for men in my room. So I was introduced to Arbonne that way. 2 months after I moved in, Linda and I fell in love, and I wanted to know what this Arbonne thing was about. So she brought me to a meeting at the Sportsman's Lodge, and there I heard Claire Rizzoli and Joyce Lipinski speak. And I don't remember everything they said, but I remember 2 things. Claire Rizzoli said that she now worries about many things, but money's not one of them. And I remembered that I was the only man in the room. And so I thought, great. The women were very friendly and to me, but I thought, what a tremendous business opportunity. There's this place for men. And so, after the meeting, I got into the car with Linda, her Mercedes, which impressed me, and I said, "I'm joining someone's business. If it's not yours, it's going to be someone else's." And so, what I learned about Arbonne then is that it's a 38-year-old, $600 million company that produces vegan health, nutrition, and wellness products that are consumable, which means that people will reorder them over and over. They're vegan certified kosher, non-GMO, gluten-free, whey-free, dairy-free. There are no bad things in. There's a whole list of things that are not in our products. I also had used them already, and I knew that I liked them. And then I learned that network marketing was a little bit different than I had thought. When I was in college, I was invited to go water skiing with my roommate. He shall remain nameless. We drove 3 hours in a Jeep and ended up in a place with no boats, just a bunch of people from a network marketing company telling me that I should join. And I thought that's what network marketing was. But I learned that network marketing is simply word of mouth advertising. And in Arbonne, what we do is we stop using products that we buy from the big box retail stores. We start buying from our own stores, and then we share that with people, just as Linda shared her deluxe Try-Me men's set with me. And so when I joined, I think it's the best decision I've made in a long time. And I'm so grateful to be a part of this company. So right now I want to just introduce Brett quickly. He's an area manager and the global captain of Team Phytosport. And that is it's a team of 16 elite athletes that have been chosen to represent 250,000 Arbonne consultants. And they were chosen for their perseverance and dedication to their dreams. I'll let Brett share his story with you. It's remarkable, and I think you'll know why I'm so excited to have him speak. So let me just take myself, let me unmute you. I'll mute myself. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, how's that? Good? All right. Thank you so much, Aaron, for inviting me here and letting me speak to everybody. It's a good number. Way to go, man. That's great. Once again, my name is Brett Parks. I am the captain of Team Arbonne Fido Sport, the global captain. And I think there's a reason for that. And it's not just my boyish good looks and my charm. So I'm just kidding. All right. So moving on. Just a little bit about me. I'm going to give you the Cliff's Notes version of my story. It's a long story. It's quite a journey, amazing one. And there's miracles and God and all sorts of things all in my story, but I'm going to compact it down to 10 minutes, max. I was born in Miami, Florida. I was always an athletic kid. I played, soccer, even though I wasn't great at soccer. I was better with my hands. I played football, I played basketball, I played baseball. In high school, I stuck with football and baseball, and I got a scholarship to Carson Newman College for football as a wide receiver. So I was very excited. I was a collegiate athlete. Things were going great. I left after school. I went to New York. I did some acting a little bit. And then after that, I went to South Carolina just to decompress. And while in South Carolina, I heard my country calling my name. I thought to myself, you know what? I'm getting older. I don't want to look back and say, man, I should have served my country. So I decided to enlist in the United States Navy. I tried to enlist in the Air Force, but they were never in the recruiting station. They were always golfing or something. So I stuck and I settled with the Navy, and I'm happy I did. I went in as a search and rescue swimmer, and then I later cross-rated to be a flight engineer on the P-3C Orions. Now, all that's like Japanese to a lot of us, and that's really not the important part. The important part is years before that, I put down a checklist of everything I wanted in life before I turned 30. It's one of those things like, okay, 30 is a big milestone to me, and it doesn't feel like that now, but back in the day it did. It's like, okay, this is what I want when I'm 30. I want to be married. I want to have a great job. I want to have some kids. I want to have a house. And when I enlisted in the United States Navy, I met the woman of my dreams. I saw her and my heart just jumped out of my chest and flew away. And I was like, that's it. She's the one. And I ended up marrying her. We got stationed in Jacksonville, Florida. And my life was perfect. We had a 17-month-old boy. His name's Jason. And my wife was 7 months pregnant with my little girl. Perfect life. I had the house. I had the job. I had the girl. I had the kids, and it was October 17th, 2012. And after the Navy, I'd go off base, and I was also a certified personal trainer. So I would train people, and I'd go to their fitness centers and help them out. If there's certain goals they wanted to reach. One lady was getting married in a few months, and she wanted to drop like 10 pounds. So she called me, and I'll go and I work her out and all that stuff. Well, October 17th, 2012 was just like any other night. I'd show up 10, 20 minutes before I was to meet the person. I'd go over what I was going to do. I set everything up, and I'd wait for my client. And while I was waiting for my client, my life changed forever. I heard a scream behind the fitness center, and it was a blood curdling scream, and the scream didn't come from a lady; it came from a man. And when we're raised, we're kind of conditioned to hear girls scream. I don't mean to be sexist here, but in all the scary movies, Jason, Friday 13th, girls are screaming. You never really hear men scream. If anything, they're yelling. But this was a scream, and it was from a man. It just made the hair on the back of my neck just stand on end. And the first reaction was I froze, and I was like, "What is going on here?" I'm trying to gather all the information. And I hear a lady, she yells out. She's like, "Oh my gosh, somebody help him. He's being robbed. He's being robbed." So I dropped all my stuff and I ran around the back of the fitness center, and there was this big guy robbing this little guy. My first reaction was to not get involved, but if not me, who, right? I knew someone needed help. So I ran in there, and I ran after the robber. He saw me and he tried to run away from me, and he didn't realize I was a college football player, a wide receiver. So I hawked this kid down. I just run him down. and I'm running right beside him while he's running for the exit. And I say, hey man, I'm like, hey man, where are you going? And he just, he kind of slows down. He puts his hands in his pockets, but he's still walking towards the exit. There's the driveway, the big parking lot, and it goes out into the street and to the interstate. So I put my hand on his sweatshirt sleeve to slow him down and say, hey man, where are you going? And he says, let go of me, dog. And I go, no, man, I'm not letting go of you. It's over. It's it. But we're still walking. We're still moving. So I say to him again, I turn and I grab both of his sweatshirt sleeves. And I say, hey, where are you going? And he says it again. He says, let go of me, dog. And I said, listen, man. I said, the cops are on their way. Nobody's going anywhere until we hash this out. And I had a perfect plan. I noticed his hands were in his sweatshirt pockets. He was being real casual. And I knew at one point he was going to take one of his hands out of his sweatshirt pockets and take a swing at me. So I'm looking at his shoulders because my plan was the second I see a shoulder raise up, I'm going to scoop him, take him down to the ground and just lay on him until the cops get there. Perfect plan, right? So that's not what would happen. What happened was while I was basking in my awesome idea, my plan, I hear 2 gunshots. I just hear bam, bam. Turns out he had a gun in his sweatshirt pocket and he shot right through the pocket. The first shot hit me in the abdomen. The second shot missed. I'd like to say I absorbed it and I was like, oh, that really hurt, but you're still not going anywhere until the cops get here. But that's not what happened either. My body just completely shut down on me. I dropped like a load of bricks and he ran off and I couldn't be happier to see him go. When I was laying there in the parking lot floor, the first thought that entered my head, the very first thought was, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just got shot. It was kind of comedic to me. I was like, yeah, that's about right. That's me. I would get shot. I almost laughed a little bit while in it. Now it was painful, but through the pain, I was like, oh, gosh, really? And then reality hit in. It sunk in. I was like, wow. And my second thought was I was going to die today. So while laying there, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just whispered to God. I said, Father, I'm coming to see you today. I'm coming to see you. And then I laid my cheek down on the parking lot floor and I waited for death to come and take me. And while I was laying there, my life flashed before my eyes. But it wasn't one of those things where my past, it was my future flashed before my eyes. I thought about my son. He's 17 months old, Jason. I thought, who was going to be his father? Who was going to teach him how to be a man? What kind of man was he going to be with a murdered father? I worried about that. And I thought of my little girl that I haven't even met yet, little Stella. I thought how I'd never get to walk her down the aisle or dance with her at her wedding. I never get to look into her eyes. And I thought about my wife and about how mad at me she was going to be. I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to be so pissed. But I thought to myself, man, I hope she takes this okay. I hope she'll be all right. And while that was happening during that time, while thinking about that, I thought to myself, wait a second, I can't go. I can't leave. I have to fight this. I have to get through this. I can't die. And then I prayed again. I prayed in a whisper again. I said, Father, I need you. I need you now. I need you more than ever. And at that moment, I looked up and I saw the most beautiful sunset I've ever seen in my life. The kind of sunset where the clouds are in there and you see the oranges and the purples and the blue in the background. And I felt God there. I knew God was there. I felt his arms wrap around me. And I knew at that moment that everything was going to be okay. At that moment. So my mentality went from I'm going to die today to I'm going to live. Then my big obstacle now is how do I make that happen? So I had to set goals for myself. I told myself that I wasn't going to fall asleep until I got to the hospital because I knew if I would have fallen asleep, I wouldn't have woken up again. And that was very hard for me to do. I hope none of you guys have ever been shot before, but if you had, you would know that the police officer comes first and then the fire department and then the paramedics come. So you're there laying there bleeding out and I see the fire department show up. I'm like, there's no fire. Get the paramedics. So they're all talking to me And I'm remembering my military training. I'm telling everyone my name, rank, and serial code over and over. Name, rank, serial code. Name, rank, serial code. And at one point, I felt myself leaving my body. I felt myself dying. While I was talking to them and they were talking to me, I stopped talking. I couldn't blink. I couldn't look. I was just staring straight up. And they kept asking me questions, saying, Brett, come back to me. Come back to me. And they're pounding on my chest, rubbing my chest. And I kept saying to myself, come on, come back. And eventually, boom, I'd come back. I'm like, I'm here. I'm Brett Parks. I'm a Naval Air crewman. My serial code is. So I started that again. Well, eventually I make it to the hospital, and the doctors are running all over the place. It's like a scene out of Grey's Anatomy or ER, depending on how old you are. And I hear all this medical jargon, and there's one thing I heard that I wish I didn't hear. I heard a doctor say, okay, we need to intubate him. Now, I don't know if anyone here knows what intubation is. I'm sure some of you do. It's when they take this thick rubber hose and they shove it down your throat and into your lungs or your somewhere so you don't drown on your own throw up or your own blood and all that stuff. Well, I did not want to be awake for that. So I said to the nurse, I said, well, are you going to put me under first? And she actually laughed. And she said, yes, Mr. Parks, we're going to put you under. And I was like, okay, good. And that's one of the last things I remembered. I wouldn't wake up for 20 days. I was in a coma for 20 days. The bullet did a lot more than I thought it did. It turns out the bullet entered my abdomen. It went down. It shredded my kidney. It blew up a third of my colon, and it severed my major artery in my leg, the vena cava. And because of that, I had to have over 13, I think I had 14 or 15 surgeries in 2 weeks. They took out my kidney. They took out a third of my colon. And because my vena cava was severed in the circulation, there was no circulation to my lower leg. They had to amputate below my knee. So I wake up 20 days later. I was when I got shot, I was 192 pounds. I was bench pressing 315 like it was nobody's business. I was in the best shape of my life. I get shot. After 20 days, I wake up. I'm 132 pounds. I couldn't breathe on my own. I couldn't pop my head up. I couldn't lift my head up off the pillow. It's like somebody took my life and pressed a reset button, and I was an infant again. I had no control. And the day I found out I didn't have my leg, it took a couple weeks because I was in and out. I was, you're all drugged up. And finally I see my reflection in a window, and I turn to my wife and I whisper to her, I said, Susan, do I have a foot? And she looks at me and she says, no, Brett, you don't. And at that moment, just panic, just surrounds me and just drenches me. And the only thing I could think of is I looked at her and I said, well, do you still love me? And I never forget what she said. She just looked me right in the eye and she said, Brett, I didn't marry you for your foot. And when she said that, I knew it. I was like, okay, I'm okay. Everything's okay. And the panic started to subside a little bit. I knew two things. I knew my wife loved me and she didn't marry me for my foot. So I was okay. So from that point on, it went from what a tragedy this is. Such a tragedy. It went from a tragedy to an opportunity. I now had an opportunity to overcome something, to look this in the eye and say, okay, I'm not going to let this defeat me. I didn't want my injury to define who I was. I wanted what I did after my injury to define who I was. And so I had to go to physical therapy. I had to do all this stuff. And once I got checked out of the hospital, it was 4 months later before I could finally go home. And once that happened, it was time to get back into the weight room. And it was time to get my body strong again. And I couldn't even lift the bar anymore in bench press. I was doing 315 before, and now I can't even do the bar. But I went back to my regular workout routine, my regular nutritional habits. I'm a whey protein guy all the way, right? I'm all about, if it bleeds, I eat it. I love it. And I'm not going to take any other kind of protein. And then my wife's best friend, Laura Ross, approaches me about Arbonne. And she goes, hey, Brett, I really think you should try Arbonne protein. And I'm like, Arbonne protein? Huh, that's interesting. What kind of protein is it? Whey? Is it soy? She's like, oh, it's plant-based protein. I was like, whoa. I don't do plants. Get out of here with that. I don't want anything to do with that plant-based protein stuff because I'm a man, and man, we eat meat, right? But she kept hammering me away on it, She kept hammering it on me. And I was finally like, fine, I'm going to drink your protein. So she gave me a few samples, and I tried drinking it for about a week, and I was surprised. Not because of so much the results I had, but the feeling I had after drinking it. When you drink whey protein, there's a heaviness to it, and I was like, oh man, it just feels so heavy and so like bloated, right? So once I was drinking the plant-based protein, I felt lighter. I felt like I had a little more energy, like my energy wasn't being used to digest. And that's what first sold me about it. And I was like, wow, this is really good. And the second thing was, after about 6 weeks, I felt myself getting stronger, and stronger in a different way than I would with my whey protein. With the whey protein, I'd swell up a little bit because I'm taking in all this whey, and it's good stuff, but it's not as clean as it could be. So I was getting stronger. My core was getting stronger, and I felt like I was getting stronger faster than I would have been, or I was getting with the whey protein. And then the third thing that really sold me was, at one point earlier, I was switching every other day. I was doing whey protein, then plant protein, whey protein, plant protein. Well, I accidentally left a whey protein shaker that was already used in my truck, as well as a Arbonne protein shaker in there. A week, I left it in there. I take them out, and I was like, you know what? I got to wash these. So I open the Arbonne protein, and I smell it. I'm like, oh yeah, it's protein, whatever. And I wash it out. Then I open the whey protein, and I thought I was going to die. It was so bad. The smell was so horrendous that I was like, I cannot believe I'm putting this in my body. I cannot believe I'm doing this. So that sold me right there. It's like, I'm done with whey protein. I'm a plant-based Arbonne guy all the way. And then Phytosport came into my life. I was a GNC guy. You get the GNC, the pre-workout, and you guys here, when you take that GNC pre-workout stuff, you itch. It gets really itchy. My neck would itch. My face would itch. I feel like a morphine crackhead. So when I took the pre-workout stuff, it was, not only did it taste good, but I didn't itch. I wasn't a guy I wasn't itching anymore. And also I would have the energy that I would need to get through it. And not only that, it's all natural stuff. It's not like it's these chemicals that you're putting in your body. It's just regular stuff. And then the hydration packs. I used to drink Gatorade all the time, and the Gatorade has like 22 grams of sugar in there. I found out after actually looking at Arbonne and comparing the nutritional facts. Gatorade has 22 grams of sugar, whereas the hydrogen packs only have 3 grams of sugar. That's a huge difference. Huge difference. And when I was drinking the hydration packs, I wasn't thirsty after drinking it like I was with Gatorade. I didn't feel gross like with Gatorade. And then the after workout has all the proper BCAAs that I needed to get done. So fast forward, after being sold on Arbonne, buying into Arbonne, doing all this stuff, not only am I as strong as I was before I got shot, I'm stronger now. My core's stronger. I feel better. I'm now on the USA sitting volleyball team for not the national team yet, but I'm on my way up to the national team. I'm on the in the pipeline. I'm probably going to be competing in the Paralympics in 2020 in Tokyo. I've also competed in Prince Harry's Invictus Games, where I won a gold medal in sitting volleyball and also silver medal in swimming. And I'm actually starting now doing some bobsled, some para bobsled. So now I'm bobsledding. I go up to Lake Placid once every few months, and I train for about a week. And I'm looking to get on the Paralympic team for that as well. Things have been great. I tell people before I thought my life was perfect then, but my life back then pales in comparison to what my life is now. And it was because of a few things. It was because I set goals for myself. I never quit, and I trusted enough to change my nutritional habits to find something better. And Arbonne was that better for me. And so that's my story in a nutshell. And I'm sorry that I can't get in more detail, but that's me. That's my story. And I thank you guys for listening to that.
Thank you so much, Brett. That was just incredible. Thank you for taking time. And I think I speak for everyone when I say how grateful we are for you for sharing your story. Can I ask one question? It's just that, so you love the products, obviously. So
Yes.
why did you do the business?
Well, I'm the kind of guy that I'm not going to talk to people or recommend something that I don't endorse myself. And I wanted to, I made sure that I was bought into the protein and the phytosport and the RE9, the skincare line, which I love, by the way. So after trying all the stuff and getting such positive results, I went into this as in, you know what, I want to tell my friends about this, not because I wanted to make money, which is always a good thing. I do want to make money, but because it's going to help them in the long run. And when I go and approach people about it, and I know us guys, you know, and I'm not saying, like, I'm just broad brushing right now. I'm not saying every guy, but me individually, it's tough for me to talk about skincare to other guys. You know, I'm not going to go up to a guy and say, you know what you need? You need some skincare. I'm not going to do that. I'm a protein guy, but I will push the skincare if the what do I say? Once I put the hooks in, you know what I mean? so once I sell them on the protein, I sell them on the skincare as well, because I believe in it. And if there's something I don't like, I don't push it on them. I say, you know what? I don't really like the Fit Chews. I'm not a big fan of them. The caramel ones. The chocolate ones are good though.
Great. Well, thank you. Thanks again. And I just want to thank everybody else for joining us tonight. And, you know, look for our next announcement on our next edition of the Arbonne Business Overview for Men. And again, have a great night and happy May. Goodbye.